All right, folks. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually get started. And as folks come in, they can come in. Like I said, we'll probably repost this whole webinar up on the group. And just for information purposes, we have a reach of tens of thousands of nonprofits. We didn't do a huge broadcast out about this particular webinar because it's our first time doing it. So I wanted just to be sure that it was something that's helpful before I get it to everyone. Any feedback you can give me at the end of this will be phenomenal. It'll help us to make this increasingly better for folks before we start amplifying it out to our audience. And that's actually a key strategy for social media advertising and your organic posts. You want to always test what you're doing before you start amplifying because you don't quite know what your audience is interested in. And these days, social is all about audience interest, not so much about who's subscribing to you and who's viewing or liking your posts. Social media is getting much more intelligent about what people are actually interested in, and it's looking to show them that. So thank you so much for getting on here. Like I said, as others come in, they can kind of come in and introduce themselves as well. But we're going to get started. So today's webinar is about Facebook ad strategies for nonprofits. And of course, this can be applied to for-profit businesses as well, projects that you're doing, events that you're holding. But this is an overview of the process of not just placing Facebook ads or boosting your posts, but it's about creating a comprehensive strategy for your Facebook ads and one that's kind of led by what you're trying to accomplish. So, right, so many times, a lot of these programs and a lot of the advice that you hear really is about getting you more likes or getting you more followers. But the reality is that if you do all of that and you have tens of thousands of followers and you're not making any sales, you're not getting any donations, no one's coming to your events, none of it really matters. And so what we want to do is create a strategy that gives you something that's more measurable than just likes and followers. So the first thing we're going to kind of begin with, I'm going to dive right in because I'm a big believer in just cutting through the fluff and getting right to the information. First thing we're going to discuss are the key concepts here, and the first of which is the strategic objective of your campaign. So with Facebook, there's a lot that you can do. There's a lot of targeting that you can do. There's a lot of stuff that you can put out there, but it all starts with really the objective of your posts or your ads. And for ads, it's actually much more important to make sure that you have a strategic objective because you're paying for it. Right? You want your ad dollars to matter. You want every dollar that you put in to at least bring you back too. And so I want to talk about the key strategic objectives of most nonprofit ad campaigns. So we'll talk about a few of these. So the first one I want to talk about is issue awareness. Here at Nonprofit Websites, we believe in kind of a three-phased approach to presenting your organization. And the three phases are problem, prescription, and participation. And so the issue awareness type of campaign addresses the problem or the issue that you're trying to solve or address with the existence of your nonprofit and its programs. So you have ads that you can run that just bring awareness to those issues. Now, it's important for campaign types, this kind of campaign type, that you keep it from being too negative. You want to make sure you're always focused on the forward movement of the issue. So if you're talking about homelessness, the last thing you want to do is run ads that just talk about how terrible homelessness is and did you know that there's this many people homeless in your city? What social media will do, especially Facebook and Instagram, is that they'll kind of demote those type of ads because they're just negative. Imagine that you opened up Facebook and all you saw were these ads that told you how terrible the world is. What you want to do is you want to create ads that talk about the issue, but from a forward-moving perspective. So maybe talk about how the fact that there are this many thousands of homeless people in your community is being addressed by your organization. Click here to learn more. So you want to make sure that you're always creating something forward movement when you're talking about the problem or the issues that you're addressing. So issue awareness is a great campaign type. You could put ad dollars around that and just help people to learn about the issue, become aware of the issue. The more that they understand and are concerned with the issue, the more they're going to care about your prescription, which is the core of who you are as a nonprofit. The next type of strategic objective are event invites. These are pretty simple. You've got an event coming up, you've got a banquet, you've got a party, you've got a fundraiser coming up, you've got some sort of community event. Creating event invites and amplifying them through social media is very, very effective. As a matter of fact, I'd even argue that your organization should always have an event coming up. You should always have some sort of an event, even if it's a virtual one, even if it's a webinar, which is on this list as well. You want to make sure that there's always a reason for folks to look on their calendars and find you. Even if it's meet and greets, even if it's just a day where you open up your doors and just meet people and talk to them about either the problem prescription or ways to participate. But event invites are extremely powerful, especially once you start creating a following and you start advertising to that following and people like them. Meeting invites as well. So if you have regular meetings, let's say you have a monthly meeting, you have a monthly community event, these are a little bit different than the big events. These are specific meetings. So for example, if I know an art gallery, for example, who had their monthly openings. And so these openings became a reason or an excuse to be able to invite people to it. And now I'm looking into the camera. Thank you very much. So meeting invites, a great excuse to run ads. Webinar registrations, as I outlined a little bit earlier, webinar registrations are a whole nother reason to run ads. You can invite people to your webinar, just like this one. You can send the registration link out through email. You can send it to your following, and you can run ads on Facebook to get people to register for your webinar and attend with whatever information you want to present in the webinar. It could be testimonials and stories, and we'll discuss all that in a little bit. Fundraising challenges is another one that you can put up. Now, this I'd like to just go over why I call this fundraising challenges and not something like a fundraising appeal or a fundraising campaign. What a lot of nonprofits do, and I see this a lot, is that they'll post their need with a button that says, donate now. We need X amount of money, or we need this type of in-kind donation, or we need these resources. Click here to give it to us. And quite honestly, that's like walking into a bar and just saying to a person who's attractive, hey, we should go on a date. There's not enough conversation. So you want to make sure that fundraising challenges are positioned in a way where you're truly challenging people, not just to give, but to find out what the need is. Again, this is where problem prescription and participation is important in that order. Challenges are about giving people a reason to look into something in a way that challenges them. Creating different ways for them to engage with you, to provide feedback, to give you ideas on how you can reach out to the community that you're trying to serve. All of those serve as kind of challenges that can have an appeal message at the end of it, can have a fundraising objective, but you want to make sure that there's some sort of a lead up to that fundraising ask. So a fundraising challenge is a phenomenal way to do that. You can even talk about other people who are giving, and maybe the fundraising challenge is, Josie is helping to feed 10 families this month. How many families can you help feed? Click here to learn more. So those are challenges. They're positioned in a way where the ask is kind of the secondary thing. The motivation is the primary objective of the ad. Testimonials and interviews. Testimonials and interviews are fantastic for people to learn about the impact of your organization. A video that interviews, it's a 2-minute, 1 minute, 5-minute video that talks about the impact that you had for a family in a family's life or in a community with what you're actively doing for that community or that individual. Those are fantastic, especially if they're interview style. They work really nicely with social content. If they're very positive, if they're uplifting, social media will definitely boost that ad and give it more views. And it's a fantastic way to communicate the end result of what your organization does. At the end of the day, donors, what they're looking for, and participants, volunteers, they're looking for that end impact. They're saying if I put in money, or if I put in time, or if I put in effort or resources, I want to know what it does at the end. What's the end result? What was the end result of me passing out flyers in a corner of a city on a hot day? What happened at the end of that? And it's so satisfying when people can see the end result before they get involved, so that they know where it's headed. Also, staff and team stories. I don't see this a whole lot, and I think this is kind of underdone, but I'd love to see it more. I'd love to see teams and team members and even the executive director of a nonprofit just do a story as to how the organization and being involved in it has impacted their lives and their families' lives, what their objectives were before they got involved, and then how those objectives were accomplished through being involved in the nonprofit actively. So those are really powerful. If you're an executive director, if you're somewhere in a management of your nonprofit, if you haven't done some sort of a story, a video story about what compelled you to get involved, and how it's impacted you, and the stories that you've lived through doing your nonprofit, then you're doing a disservice to the nonprofit. I definitely take time to record something and give it to your organization to use as either an organic post, or potentially a some sort of an ad on Facebook. And remember that at the end of these things, there's always a call to action, right? So if I'm doing a story, you might ask, well, why am I going to pay to boost a story, just a testimonial from my director, my volunteer director? Well, it's because it creates a point of interest, a point of connection. It creates an actual proof of concept for those who are interested and who are looking into your organization. And when you combine that at the end with an appeal to learn more, or become involved yourself, or even contact that staff member to be involved in whatever area they're involved in, you've now created a mechanism for recruitment. And finally, founder appeals. This goes back to this whole getting the executive director to do something, to do a video, to do a write-up. These are incredibly powerful because they come from the head of the organization. It's the head of the organization talking about the organization in kind terms, in ways that encourage me as a potential participant in some way to be involved. And this is going to all depend on a few things. Number one, the power of the stories, the sincerity of the appeal, or the story and the message. But it's also going to create some sort of a persona around the founder. And if that founder is likable and they're relatable, it's going to make people more connected to your nonprofit at a very top level. And if the way that it goes is, if you've got a founder, if you've got a leader who's charismatic, who is likable, who has a passion for what they do, most likely the people you get involved with in the organization are going to follow suit. If you have a founder who's negative and who isn't very likable, then that organization is usually suffering in some way within itself. So these are all just ideas for your strategic objectives, but I will say it's a pretty comprehensive list. Outside of this, there's some ideas here and there that you can suggest. And of course, if you have some that you suggest, feel free to send them to me. Feel free to put them in the chat or send them over to us. But these are going to be your core strategic objectives of any Facebook ad strategy for a nonprofit. Let's talk about ad creative and format. So once you figure out what your strategic objective is, now it's time to create the ads. You've got to figure out what type of content you're going to put in your ads. Is it going to be video? Is it going to be a graphic? Is it going to be an infographic? Is it going to be a picture? But you want to figure out what type of ad you want to run. What's the visual? What kind of creative you want to create? What is the messaging? So this is where your copy, your ad copy really matters. And what type of formats are you going to put those in? So every piece of social media, every social media network has different formats, whether they're reels or live content or stories on Instagram, or they're a post on Instagram or Facebook. And always remember, when we're talking about Facebook, we're also talking about Instagram and that ecosystem. Whenever we're running ads, we have these options to be able to create our ads in different formats so that they'll go across both of those networks. But ad copy, creative, and formats all really matter, because each of these formats have a different purpose. They also have a different reach. Your posts may only reach 2 to 5% of your following, but a reel can reach people based on interests that are outside of your likes and your followers. And this is what I was talking about a little bit earlier, is that it's no longer a game of reaching out to your followers, reaching out to people who've liked you or seen your stuff before. Now with networks like TikTok and the TikTokification of all of social media, interests now are the big fascination of the social network. So they're looking at, what is your content saying, who would it be of interest to, and how do we amplify that to that audience as opposed to just the people who've liked you in the past? Because in all reality, our interests change over time, and this is what a lot of the social networks have started to figure out, is that what I liked 10 years ago, that Facebook page that I liked 10 years ago may be completely outside of my interest now. And so what they're doing is constantly evaluating, what am I actually interested in, and they're showing me content based on that, and that's really important. TikTok has really changed the way that that works, and all the networks are very much following suit. So when we're talking about posting Facebook Reels, when we're talking about doing Instagram stories and Instagram Reels, we're reaching outside of our network, and our exposure is based on the interest of our in our content. So the quality of content, not necessarily the quality of production, but the quality of content in these different formats, the information that's represented, and whether or not people are interested in that information is really the key point. Now, that gets amplified, right? When it's great content, it gets amplified organically, but then we're also able to see those results when we pay for ads. So a great strategy here is to actually do some organic posting in some of these formats that go beyond your follower lists. Measure how they're doing. Take a look at the comments, read through the comments, look at what type of insights their reporting provides, because you get tons of amazing insights from Facebook and Instagram. But you take a look at these things and see what people are responding to, and then use that as the basis for creating your ads, because what people will respond to organically is going to give you a better chance of creating something that people will respond to when you pay for it in your ads. So ad copy, creative, and formats, those are the next thing you want to address once you figure out what your strategic objectives are. The next part of all of this is, the reason we create ads is not just for traffic. We're not just putting up an ad and sending them to our website, or putting up an ad and sending them to our page. We want them to do something specific. Now, if you're not doing this, if you're running Facebook ads and you're sending people to your website, you're wasting your money. You're just flushing it down the drain. The way to really do this right is to always have a call to action that takes people to a very specific place, like a landing page or a capture form. Many of the social networks now, they'll have actually in-network capture forms. You can actually create forms where people don't even leave Facebook, and they fill it out right there, and it sends you the information about that particular inquiry. So figuring out what format you want to do this in, whether it's through a capture form, whether it's through a landing page, so you're sending them to a page, a web page that is specifically designed to take them from the ad to a data collection point. This is the way that you do it. And simplifying those pages, removing any kind of navigation that navigates them away from it, making sure that it's mobile friendly and concise, so that that folks are coming in to just perform that action. They're not going there to find more information or to roam around your website. They're going to a landing page that captures their information, because presumably your ad has provided enough information for them to make that decision. And in leading people to your landing pages and creative, your capture forms, a little tip here: the Learn More button is by far the best button to use. Don't use Buy Now. Don't use Get Involved. Use the Learn More button. It's going to get people to click on that more, and it'll get you more results from your capture forms. The process that we've gone through so far, though, is we're figuring out what our strategic objectives are. Then we're figuring out what ad copy, creative, and formats we want to use. We're creating to create for those ads, and we're creating in a way that compels people to perform an action. And let's say this is, for example, a founder appeal, and the founder's talking about why they started their organization and the type of things that they want to accomplish. And then at the end, there's an invitation that invites people to be a part of what they're doing. Here's, 3 different volunteer roles that we're looking for. Click here to inquire about that, or to join our team in one of those 3 roles. This is a very natural, a very easy to produce type of video, and it'll lead people in directly into action. Same thing with a fundraising challenge. Johnny raised $10,000 and is feeding 20 families this year. Click here to find out what other people are doing and how you can help. And so they'll hit a page maybe with a few testimonials, a few videos of different folks and the things that they've done or the ways they've been helped. And then there's a form there that says, if you want to join Johnny and these others in what we're doing and what they're accomplishing, fill out the form and be a part of what we're doing. So again, you want to always lead people into a process, but those landing pages and capture forms are where you want to lead them to, not your website and not some other campaign or some other rabbit trail. You want to lead them directly into a specific action. Now, once you've figured out what that's going to be, then there's the issue of tracking, conversion tracking. So what you want to do is, you don't just want to measure in your ads. There's a few different metrics that you'll want to look at, and you want to look at your CPM cost, your cost per thousand costs, and you'll want to look at your click-through rates and your cost per click and all of those things. But at the end of the day, what really measures success of a campaign isn't how many times people click on stuff or how many times again people like stuff. The purpose of a campaign is to provoke action. And you want to track how many times those specific actions are taken. The other metrics are going to help you to tweak your campaign, but at the end of the day, the success is determined by the end actions. So if my goal was to get more volunteers and I got 100 volunteers from the ad, that is a better ad campaign than one that gets none or 10 or 25. This is going to be the thing you measure against. And the way to track conversions is to use Facebook's Pixel and conversion APIs. And this might be a little technical for some folks, but you want to make sure that you install the right systems to be able to track from the ad all the way through to the clicks, all the way through to the actual conversions. And a conversion is when somebody fills out that form. That's the conversions is the fancy tech term, marketing term for someone filling out a form and doing something you wanted them to do. Maybe it's to make a phone call. Maybe that's the thing you want them to do. I recommend using forms mostly, and then you can always, when someone fills out the form, you can give them a phone number to call. But at the end of the day, you want to be able to track that conversion, not just the clicks, not just how many times the ad was seen. None of that really matters at the end of the day if you don't get anybody to fill out your form. So you want to make sure that you're installing your Facebook pixels, your conversion APIs for Facebook and Instagram. You want to make sure that you're measuring the success of your ad campaign in a way that's a conclusion rather than all the steps in between. All that other data is helpful for tweaking and for making some decisions and for testing variations of your ads, which is very important. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't produce money, doesn't produce volunteers, doesn't produce supporters and expand your reach, then it really has done nothing. You've wasted your money. So installing your Facebook Pixel, conversion API setups, those things allow you to see what your money's actually doing, what it actually translates to. Now, once folks fill something out, and I want to just rewind for a second, guys. This works for business too. I know Tom's got a few businesses, and he's looking to do some things and expand and start some new things. This all works the same exact way. It's how we've grown our business over the last 23 years. It's really through this type of concept, this type of marketing. This works on Google. It works on Bing. It works through all the social networks and all pay-per-click advertising. It's all about creating a strategic objective, creating your ads and creative formats in a way that produces a message that's compelling to your audience, getting them to a landing page, some capture forms, getting their information, tracking the success of that. And then number 5 here is automating and manual follow-ups. So these days, there are a lot of ways to automate your follow-ups. And this is what's known as drip marketing or lead nurturing. There's a bunch of terms for it, but at the end of the day, it's automated follow-ups that allow you to extend value beyond the ad to people who have inquired. So let's say your campaign is about volunteerism and your goal is to get volunteers, and somebody fills out the form. I'm interested in volunteering for this particular event or this particular role. Now you set up a sequence for those people so that now, as soon as they fill out the form, they get one email that thanks them, maybe gives them some additional videos, maybe a primer on volunteering for your organization and what that means or what you're looking for out of volunteers. So it helps to kind of prepare them for your phone call with them. Maybe in another day or two, there's a kind of reminder email that that maybe shares some stories from other volunteers who have been a part of your organization. Maybe a few days later, you've got an email that leads to a video from the founder that thanks them for being a part of what they're doing and explains the importance of all the things that you need them to be able to be in order to be a good volunteer. You can go on and on with ideas here, but the idea is automated follow-up is about nurturing that new lead, that new contact. I hate calling them leads. I like calling them relationships because that's at the end of the day, it's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create relationships online. We're trying to connect with people in a way that is meaningful. And meaningful might be that they buy something from you, but meaningful might be that you have this volunteer for the next 5 years, or you have a major donor that connects that starts as a small donor, but over time increases their gifts. So these are all relationships. The automated part of it is to add value, give value, and add additional insights to the relationship. But the manual follow-up is the most important part. Getting somebody to actually talk to the individual. Now, this might be through a scheduled call. Maybe you use Calendly and one of your automated follow-ups to have them book a call with your volunteer manager or your major gifts director. Whatever it is, you want to make sure that the manual follow-up is done. Somebody is talking to these people. This is really important, for example, when you do church invitation campaigns, right? So we do ad campaigns for churches that get people in their church. It gets visitors every single weekend. And it's so important that you do the follow-up because you can do the ads, you get all these people interested, but if no one reaches out, you're not going to see that same success. You're not going to see people coming in every weekend because there was no one to really personally greet them virtually. There was nobody to tell them what to expect. Even if you automate the follow-ups and you send them videos, it's just a lazy approach. You got to reach out. Somebody's got to connect with these people, and that's going to increase the likelihood that after they fill out the form, because they filled it out, they didn't do it by accident. They filled the form out because they wanted to attend. You have to follow up, and you have to follow up meaningfully. It can't be some volunteer that you have just following up with people, asking them to come to church. You've got to have a good quality follow-up from someone who's knowledgeable about the church and can explain what the process is and what the environment is like and what you're going to do with the kids when they get there and all of that stuff. So you want to make sure that automated follow-up is there, but also you want quality manual follow-up. You want to make sure that there's a voice on a phone, that there's something scheduled with that individual or that family to meet with them or to speak with them a little bit further about what they inquired about. Okay, so again, we're going from strategy to the ads, to landing pages, to tracking the conversions, right? Because now we're getting conversions. Now it's time to follow up. So you want to automate the follow-up and you want to set up manual follow-ups and even triggers for manual follow-ups. Sometimes you might do something that's known as a cold campaign where maybe it's a download about the top 5 ways to decrease homelessness in your city. It's not necessarily a straight out, not a straight out inquiry. It's they're not filling out a form and telling you that they want to be involved. They're just filling out first name, last name, email to just get a download. Well, from there, you may want to do some lead nurturing that then triggers a manual follow-up. So maybe you've got email number 1 or 2 where it says, we have ways of implementing all these strategies. If you'd like to be a part of what we're doing, click here, and then you trigger that manual follow-up. So there's a few ways to kind of to lick this issue, but again, automated and manual follow-ups, very important to do, but please follow up. The other thing you want to do is, there's a lot of organizations that kind of just run on spreadsheets. A lot of them come to us, before they come onto our system and our CRM system with just a bunch of spreadsheets. And in the beginning, that might work, but as you're getting leads coming in through Facebook ad campaigns, you want to kind of move away from that and move to a more formal CRM system. And a CRM is just basically a relationship management system. You can call it customer relation management, client relation management, or constituent relation management system. But it's a tracking system where you can store the information that you're getting from these ads, preferably automated, and then you can track all of your follow-ups and what the progress and stages of those follow-ups are. So good CRMs will allow you to store the information that people submit, but it also allows you to kind of track where they are in the process towards what you're trying to get them to. So maybe it's an inquiry to a serious inquiry to an in-person meeting to now being registered as a volunteer, right? So you can track that progress, pull reports, and you can see what kind of follow-ups are being made by your team, and even automate some of the things associated with that, like emails going out, text messages going out, all of that. So CRM, very important to this process, especially as your ads start picking up and you get more and more leads coming in. It's very hard to track that once you start getting dozens or hundreds of leads coming in, and that is the potential. Reporting and insights is super important. So don't just run your ads. It used to be when you ran ad campaigns, you didn't really get much information. You pay for a TV commercial, and whether it's bad or it's good, you get charged the same, and you just have to kind of wait to see what results you get. With social media, you'll know the results within days. So there's no waiting until a campaign is over or spending a whole lot of money to figure things out. You can spend very small amounts of money running small campaigns to figure out what people are into. You can run unlimited variations of your ads to see which variations hit the best, and then you can use more money to amplify the ones that are doing the best. So reporting and insights are going to help you to do that. If you're never doing reporting on your Facebook ads, you're never looking at your insights, you're never understanding not just general terms like 18 to 35 are looking at my ad. We're talking about our mothers in Nebraska who are 25 years old. Are they the ones looking at my ad? These are things that insights you can glean from the reports that Facebook and Instagram can give you. So always look at your reports and insights to be able to tweak your campaigns, know what to turn off, know what to turn on, know what's doing better than others, and always test variations. You never want to just run one ad. You don't know if a slight variation of the headline or a different video or a different visual or a different call to action at the end would have worked better. Always run several versions of your ad, even if they're slight changes, so that you understand who you're targeting. You can also, or what you're targeting. You can also run the ads and make the variation the specific groups that you hit. So you could do 5 to 10 miles versus 50 miles. You could do males under 25 versus males over 25, or 25 to 30, and another one 30 to 35, and another one 35 to 40, so that you can create this kind of this test, this experiment as to who is responding to these ads. And you can do that across all your ad variations. So you'll not only know what groups are responding the best, but what specific ad that group is responding to the most. There's a lot of ways that you can go about this, and Facebook and Instagram insights and reporting really give you the ability to make those smart decisions. And that could mean the difference between $100 and $1 million. It really could. When you start amplifying this, when you start running this over time, this could mean the difference between a few volunteers to being overrun with volunteers, and expanding your organization in a way that you never thought possible. But it all starts with running those ads and collecting the information that's provided. And don't just passively collect it. Make decisions based on the information. There's a lot of a lot of leaders are very hesitant to change something that might be mildly working. So maybe we have an ad that's producing, let's say if you're a church, it's producing getting you 5 families a week. And we just say, listen, we don't want to touch it. That's more than we were getting before. But there are tweaks you can make that could double that or triple that, which for you means a huge growth as opposed to a more gradual growth. And it just depends on how fast you want to get places, how aggressive you want to be in growing your organization. Do I want 5 volunteers a month or do I want 50 volunteers a month? Well, a difference in your ad could make that difference. And if we do that over a period of time, over the course of a year, you start realizing that this adds up very quickly. So doing experimentation and doing reporting and insights is super important. And this goes into testing and refinement. So you want to make sure you're always testing, you're always refining your campaigns, always making them better, always finding ways to experiment and making the changes that you need to make, and always trying new campaigns as well. Always making sure that you're looking at your campaign types and you're saying, okay, I've got issue awareness out there, but I've got to make sure that I'm putting my meeting invites up there as well, and maybe I should do a webinar once a month and do some invites there. You're going to magnify, you're going to amplify, you're going to just multiply the impact of your Facebook ad budget. So internal versus external management. So now what I want to talk about is a lot of times what leaders will do is they'll take a webinar like this. Maybe you'll go buy a book. Maybe you'll go buy a Facebook ad course, and you learn a whole bunch. And the reality is that most of you watching this webinar could do this stuff yourself. You could, if you spent your time studying this topic, if you spent your time looking at and learning about ad formats and the different networks, even if you could spend a lot of time just learning Facebook ads and Instagram ads and all the things that work. You can spend your time creating these ad variations. You know your organization more than anyone else, right? But there is a difference between what you can do while you're running your organization, while you're doing all the other important things like selling, donor asks, training your staff, managing your operations, doing your major donor meetings. There's only so much that you could do with this stuff and still run your organization. And for many years, we used to encourage our clients to just do this themselves. Listen, you're the person who knows the most about your organization. Create your ads, learn Facebook ads, do it yourself. But over in the last few years, what we've realized is that in the busyness of everything, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, especially for organizational leaders whose time is a premium to do this kind of stuff. I think one of the big differences between the small organizations and the big organizations is the small organizations are really focused on saving money. The big organizations are focused on saving time. And so for them, if they can spend money to save time, they would rather do that. And that's why they've grown. They've taken the approach that, we've got to spend a little bit of money so that we don't have to do this stuff. And we can focus on the much more important thing, which is, by the way, the automated, the manual follow-ups and meetings and all the things that result from a thing like a Facebook ad. So it's like if I were to have my sales department focused on our ad strategy, well, they will be doing that all day and not actually making the phone calls and getting people on our program and platform. So I have them doing that, and I don't have them touching Facebook ads at all, or Google or Bing ads or anything like that, or LinkedIn. That's a whole different department. So it's important for you to kind of weigh those decisions out. Now, in the beginning, it may have to be you. If you're a startup, if you are a brand new organization, you have a brand new business, Tom, if you've got those businesses in the beginning, you might want to jump in, learn some Facebook ad management. This is, beyond just boosting posts. This is about getting into Ad Manager and learning how to create ads into different formats and creating your landing pages and capture forms and installing your pixels and figuring out what all the automation points are. Those are things that you can do as an organizational leader. If you decide to do that, you're completely right to try to do it yourself. But if you can't do that yourself, if you have too much going on, if you are trying to grow your organization in different ways, then this is a little bit difficult to do all at the same time. And again, this is in the flurry of, there's more than just Facebook ads. There's your Google ads, there's your other advertising, there's your email marketing that you've got to do. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff to do. And so many times it will help you to have an outside organization take care of those items for you. So always kind of weigh out those benefits. Now, I also, honestly, I do recommend that as an organizational leader, you do learn the mechanics of all of this. So learn about the different formats, learn what maybe you should be doing and what others in your industry are doing. But at some point, you're going to want to kind of let go of the reins and let somebody handle this, whether it's somebody internal or whether it's somebody that you hire external like us. So always think about what's going to be, again, what's going to save you time versus what's going to save you money. It's better to invest a little bit of money and save yourself the time so you're able to do the things that are much more valuable to your organization. Now, this is kind of the end here of the concepts that we have and we're discussing in this particular webinar. And, there's only so much that I can discuss in a very general term before we just get to the end of that and we get to the beginning of what's custom for you, what you as an organization need, what you as a nonprofit need, what you as a business might need. And so what I've done is I've actually created a free consultation. This is a free individual consultation. There's nothing to buy. There's nothing to commit to. It's simply a personal Facebook ads, a consultation for you. I'll review what's going on with your organization. I'll give you some direction as to what I would recommend for you based on doing this, running millions of dollars of Facebook ads budgets. I can tell you exactly where to go and what you need to focus on. I can also look at campaigns. If you've got a campaign running, we'll take a look at that. And if you need help with your landing pages or any data that you're looking at, I can help to look at that with you, and we can spend about 30 minutes together just going over all that stuff. So if you'd like to get in on the free individual consultation, just go to nonprofitwebsites.com/FB, just like Facebook, and then just schedule a time with me. My calendar's there.